two, one. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys Growing on You Live. Today, season 10 premiere. We have a very, very cool sponsorship this season through my doggies over at Studio House Designs. This season, this episode is sponsored by Studio House Designs, the purveyors of horror and VHS nostalgia, bringing you guys the coolest vintage-inspired horror tie-dyes, long sleeves out there. They're legendary VHS stack shirts that you see everywhere. If they don't have the Studio House Design logo on them, they're not the legit shirts. Okay, you can find them at Studio House Designs and on Instagram at Studio House Designs. Boom. My dude Cody, my friend Aaron, those guys are absolutely killing it. Two people that are making this really, really cool company make it happen. You know what I'm saying? Today, as I mentioned, season 10's premiere, we are going to have the one and only Marshall Lichtenwalt of the Warriors. This is going to be absolutely insane. Go back some years to me being, I don't know, a teenager, early teenager, and tell me that I was going to be interviewing somebody from the Warriors, and I'd say you're fucking nuts. They have been one of my favorite hardcore bands for forever. One of the things initially drawing me to the Warriors was my dude Marshall's vocals and his style. The swagger, the attitude that they conveyed in their music. I'm really excited for this one. This one's going to be so sick. It's going to be Marshall. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Shit. Thank you so much. I apologize about the little time difference there. That was a little bastard, my fault.
Hey, no big deal.
Nice. All right. Well, look, man, here on Growing on You Live, basically, I have a couple of icebreaker, just fun questions at first. The remainder of the interview is about you and the career, the lifespan of the Warriors. And then I have one finale question that we're going to dig into some horror movies with. So if you're all set, my man, we're gonna start this bad boy.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, my wife and I do a little travel, okay? If we were coming through local to you, we're coming through Washington, what would be a local restaurant or a food staple that we'd have to try before we left out?
Oh, man. Dick's.
All right.
There's a hamburger place here called Dick's. And it's just, you see it when you come off the freeway and you're just like, so it's kind of a joke around town. It's like, oh yeah, you guys want Dick's? I love Dick's. And it's just hamburgers.
Nice. Okay. Is there some sort of specialty, or is it just that? Is that the thing? Is it's just kind of like a good hole in the wall type spot?
Yeah, it's just a funny place to go, and it's good burgers if you like that kind of thing. And
sick.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. I love it. That is hilarious. Now, as far as if you could start, you could just do one album, maybe even in this whole pandemic thing, and you got together with a couple other people. If you could start a dream side project, what other 3 or 4 members would you have in this band to make one album? From any band, any musicians that you'd like.
Oh, boy. Let's see here. Have to have Roger Camaro in there.
Oh,
because he's just a beast at everything. Let's see here. Probably Javier too, because he's sick. He's a good guitar player too. He's sick.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Just pretty much any of my friends. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Keep it close and comfortable. Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's good. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, as far as your musical interests, let's dig into a little bit as far as like your interest in your youth. What were some of the earlier songs or maybe albums that you loved when you were a kid?
Oh man. Yeah, so I don't know. When I first started to like have my own taste in music in like grade school and stuff, I listened to a lot of rap, and pretty much whatever was on skate videos, because that was around the time when we were getting into skateboarding, and music came with it, heavy with the punk rock and the hip hop and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And just whatever was on MTV. I mean, that was a big thing when MTV would play music videos all day long, and so you'd see the same video multiple times. And one of them, like my favorite album as a kid, was The Offspring Smash.
Oh yeah,
that album's badass. And Green Day Dookie, They had a couple music videos, and
Mm-hmm.
around that time, Wu-Tang Clan came out with the the double LP album,
Oh man, the name's slipping me. I know what you're talking about though. Yeah.
yeah, but just stuff like that, and then just whatever you'd see on skate videos, you'd actually have to like pause it during the credits on the
Yeah.
VHS tape and be like, oh, this could be, whatever. Oh, that must be Gangstar. Oh, cool. I'm gonna go to the Kmart or the record store or whatever and try to find that CD.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But
Okay,
yeah.
that's it. Now, as far as like you skating, were you one of those cats that you just picked it up and like you could just learn shit within the day, or was it a little bit of a struggle?
No, and it will always be a struggle. I fucking sucked.
Oh my! I've had a couple of people out where I asked that because I always had those friends, like I was always the asshole in the background that was like just struggling, trying to trying to love this, but I'm like, God damn, I'm falling all the time. Like this is just not fun. Like I love the spirit of it, but it's like the talent's not there.
You know what it is? We grew up in a small town, and it depending on who you skate with, you kind of get better. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. Some kids would come from out of town, and it would kind of like force you to be better because you see what they're doing, and you're like, oh shit, like I better
I gotta
land
bring
this. Yeah.
Right. Nice. Now, where
Yeah.
was some of your introduction into into hardcore? May it have been local scene, local show? What were some earlier bands in that genre that kind of drew you?
Yeah. Well, in Tehachapi, it's definitely Die Hard Youth.
Yes.
Wherever they went, we would kind of follow them around and play or and go to their shows and just hang out. And Andy was always really cool. He'd let us come along, and we'd all just cram in the van, and wherever the show was, that's where we'd be too. So,
Sick.
and then through
What
that,
were some-
all the
go ahead.
bands that, oh yeah, well, all the bands that they would play with, a lot of hardcore bands, but like especially in like Bakersfield, a lot of not hardcore bands. But
Okay.
I mean, whatever. It was that camaraderie and just friendship thing where we just all kind of kicked it, and wherever they would play, we would go, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What as far as like the local scene, what were some local venues and different spots that you guys would frequent, either playing or or going to shows?
Yeah, well, definitely Jerry's Pizza in Bakersfield was a big one. You go to Palmdale and Lancaster, there's a couple venues there. And then you go a little further, you go to LA, and there was a lot going on there. Ojai had the women's club, and that was probably like the central hub for where everybody from surrounding areas would go. Like every big tour, if it was a hardcore tour, every tour would come through Ojai.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of low between and stuff like that. Cool
Okay.
little town.
Yeah.
But I mean, we
Sweet.
would. They always had the best shows. The stage was like 3 feet tall. It was perfect. It was just a room. Yeah.
Everybody jumping and stage diving and shit and getting into shenanigans.
Yeah. Yeah,
All
it was
the
just
fun.
awesome. It was just the perfect venue for what was going on. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Now you touched a little bit on this as far as like the skate videos and such, but like especially for me, before times of streaming and the internet, one thing for me to discover bands was looking into the album's thank yous. Did you ever discover bands through like thank yous from albums, or maybe even like a show flyer or something? Bands that you might even still love today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, that was how I found the majority of bands out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And just through friends, and we would, borrow each other's CDs and stuff like that, record it onto cassette tapes and whatever. But yeah, the thanks list, that was huge. Like, you look at the back of like a Hatebreed album and you see, basically every single band that they play with, and you're like, holy shit,
Right.
who's All Out War, and you go listen, you're like, oh, this band's badass, and you go see their thanks list, and it's just a chain of continuation of the same thing. So
Right.
eventually you discover all of it. So
Yeah. you quickly fall down this rabbit hole of just like, God damn it, when does this end?
yeah, exactly.
I can say one of my earlier memories with that was with the eulogy, the eulogy recordings, man. Like I pull up something and all of a sudden you see Kids Like Us, you see Black My Heart on Broken Wings, and you're just like, holy shit. And all these bands were killing it. Like absolutely, and obviously, I mean, you guys, that was one of those things where like, I think eulogy was kind of one of the first times I remembered looking into the thank yous and being like, oh shit, these bands are sick. I love it.
Yeah, Eulogy definitely had a lot of good bands on there, and that was a fun time for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I see nowadays that they have some SSR or something that's posting a lot of the stuff on YouTube. I don't know what that is, but there's something that has like a lot of the old classic albums that like I haven't been able to find online, and they have some of the shit that's on there now. It's just, I mean, kind of cool. Maybe not cool for the bands, but
I guess I have no idea about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, as far as, my introduction, my introduction to the Warriors was the Set the Stage video. My man right here, sitting here on the video and just absolutely spitting the rhythm. It was, one of the first times with having like a Rage Against the Machine, almost kind of like Beastie Boys. I'm explaining it to my friends, and like kind of when they got into their like rock and metal, that was what, initially came, to my mind, that made me love the Warriors all these years later still. How did you become involved in bands and, kind of develop your vocal style initially?
I don't know. We just kind of started, had a couple friends at school, asked them if they wanted to start a band. And we kind of, it was Danny and Donnie and Mike and Graham. I don't think I'm missing anybody at that point. And then we all would just, after school, we'd go to Danny and Donnie's house because they had a big basement, and we'd jam down there, and we fucking sucked, and it was awesome.
It's a spirit behind it.
And it was like, and I was like, I don't have anything to offer other than I could be the vocalist. And they're like, yeah, well, we need a vocalist, so whatever. I guess you're it. I guess you're the guy. So.
Wow.
At least that's what I thought. I was like, okay. So I got to try to make these guys proud to have me in the band. All right. And then so I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, to be honest.
Okay.
I probably still don't. So.
Where did like the initial, because I mean, like I said, what the first time that I had heard the band, it wasn't really anything that I was kind of hearing the infusion of like this kind of like flow style to a hardcore, punk, faster, like thrash type, like where was kind of your influence from bringing that taste in? And, I mean, were they into it initially?
Yeah, I mean, we all had different styles that we kind of liked. Yeah, so it was a bunch of flavors kind of brought to it. But as for me, I liked like you ever heard of a band called Point of Recognition?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Dude, like heavy, raspy metalcore shit. That's what I liked that a lot. So that was my thing. So I think when we were first starting, I kind of tried to sound like that by default, and it didn't work out, and I just kind of did whatever. I don't know.
Right.
I didn't really think about it too much. I was just trying to have fun. So.
Okay, so there wasn't ever any sort of like training, or you didn't do any sort of like you didn't have classes in school or anything like that. That was kind of something that developed that or anything. It was just jumping right into the shit.
No.
Sick. That's even that makes the story even better. Shit.
Yeah.
Especially for a hardcore band, just jumping into it and just getting it done. I mean, that's awesome. That rips. I can say as far as, one thing that I've always loved is when a band puts out a slapping shirt. And one of my favorites of all time was my Warriors, the side decal. It was like a Jaws, like the shark Jaws there.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That's an old one, yeah.
Yeah, it was probably one of the first things I ever bought online, like from the internet when that shit was first starting. What as far as like maybe even a collection that you've had over the years, what have been some of your favorite band shirts?
Well, there's a couple that I still have that I've just hung on to all these years. One of them is Madball Hold It Down.
Yeah, okay.
I have like one of the first Terror shirts they ever made that it says like Angel City Mayhem on the back and there's an LA on the front.
That's sick.
I got a Striking Distance shirt that says Hated on the back. that I got from Dave Hard. Yeah.
Damn.
Just ones like that I still have that kind of still fit.
Hell yeah.
It kind of brings me back to that time, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Right. Yeah, you gotta
You know,
hold
that's
on to
what's
that
up.
stuff. I mean, that was, and then now I'm saying this, and I went and I looked earlier up in my closet, and I can't find that goddamn shirt. So I can't say all this about holding on to shit because I know that I have it, and I wanted to have it for the show, and I'm like picking my fucking brain on where the hell I would have put it. It might be a boxes or something, but yeah, I mean that's like one of the cool things, you know, is like especially at that time, you know, it was something a little bit different with having like a side decal, and there was different things, but good merch is always something for a band to have. That's always appreciated. I always love that.
No, for sure.
Now taking back to, you know, like working on the first demo and then, you know, kind of the process into War is Hell, you know, what did you take from working on that demo initially and then going in and recording your first album?
I don't remember exactly. You see, back then I smoked a lot of weed, so I don't know. I don't know, but the demo, we kind of just hung a microphone from the ceiling with duct tape and just kind of did it on one take. And then we just did the album, and I didn't know what I was doing, like at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. But, was it all like, did you guys do individual tracks, or was that all to get like done together, like kind of live session like?
It was all super new to me. Like I was there through the whole thing, but you don't do the vocals till the end.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody does their parts. Like you do drums and bass, then guitars, and then vocals is last. So
okay. Now, with that first album, you know, was there something that you know, maybe not necessarily you remember from that, but from like earlier, you know, trials that you learned, you know, and learned that you didn't want to do that you might still execute today?
Not really.
Wise? Oh, okay.
I don't know. Just kind of just warming up.
It's been some years,
I
sure.
guess. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Every album's
all
a
right.
little different.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Can you tell us anything about where the cover art of War is Hell came from?
Oh yeah, that's Donnie Phillips. He's always done our artwork since the very very beginning. In fact, he used to play drums with us.
Yeah.
And great artist and graphic designer, and that was one of his first things. He kind of brought it to the table, and we said, "Yeah, that's us."
Nice.
And that's all there is to it. But he's kind of the creative mind, that creative force behind all the artwork and everything we've ever done. So
nice.
That's all from his brain, and really nobody else's.
Sweet. Oh, yeah. I mean that's it. And even to Monomyth, did he do the cover art for that too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. I guess I didn't realize that.
He was a big
albums as far as. No,
he was a big part of Monomyth. As far as the music as well and everything, you know, he's just a really talented guy and a good friend of ours. So, yeah.
Sure. Okay. With initially, you know, the first track on War is Hell, you know, one of the quintessential songs, you know, from the catalog, Slings and Arrows. How did it come about for Knock Loose to cover the track? Did they reach out to you guys, or was it just kind of a surprise thing that they threw up on an EP?
Oh, I don't think they ever talked to us about it, but I mean, we're super flattered. That's awesome. I mean, they're fucking heavy. So,
yeah.
I mean, just that's awesome that they did that. So,
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
And they did a good job. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and that's one of those things too. I thought that it was kind of, you know, cool as far as for, you know, newer fans that, you know, might be into that band that may have never, you know, heard the Warriors for whatever reason. I don't know why, but, you know, to go back and, you know, go and check out some of that stuff too. You know, that's really cool as far as bands, you know, I'm not huge on covers, but, you know, when they cover something that makes sense, you know, that made sense and it sounded cool. I just didn't know if they had reached out or if there was something more behind that.
Yeah, no, it was just that. But I mean, I remember hearing it and I was like, holy shit. And then like all of us were hitting each other up and we're like, wow, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Now, as far as like, so you guys go, you record your first album, you come back, you have Beyond the Noise. I've read some certain things as far as that there was kind of like a intertwining theme through like the lyrics What was there something, more to everything that you had in mind as far as, making a theme for the album?
Yeah, we all kind of came together, collaborated on the idea of the book Siddhartha, which is essentially about the coming of Buddha and his life and how he became the Buddha and his trials and tribulations of what he did to
Okay.
attain enlightenment type of thing. And so that's kind of like, that's the theme, more or less. That's the theme of the whole album. And each song kind of goes into detail about, and the reason why is because we can all kind of relate to that, whether you're conscious about it or not. It's something that we all kind of initially go through in life, kind of whether you like it or not. We don't just stay in the same place. Very rarely. I mean, you grow as a person, and through doing that is kind of what it's about as well. So.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah. I appreciate hearing that because, it's one of those things where, I mean, you read the stuff and you can kind of see, something underlying, but I'd never known as far as, if there was like a backing behind. And I've seen some stuff recently online, now that there's the internet and shit, that kind of tells you some of those things, but that's cool to hear that. How did you get into, as far as, some of the ideology behind Buddha and everything? How did that come about?
Just exactly through that book. It came to our attention.
Oh, okay.
We just kind of all decided, hey man, this book is a classic, and we're gonna kind of, as whatever it was, it kind of really hit us. You know what I mean?
Okay.
To the point where we wanted to write a whole record about it. And
yeah,
I mean, behind
sure.
the ideas of that book, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
We thought it was
now,
important enough to kind of, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, okay. I love it. Next up, I wanted to mention genuine sense of outrage. There was a little bit of a different direction, your vocal tone. I wanted to mention on that. Where did that come about?
Genuine sense of outrage. Well, like everything else, it was a different time in our lives. I think that one is much more aggressive.
Yeah.
More angst, more pissed off, and you can really feel it. You know what I mean? It was at a time as far as I'm concerned, writing lyrics for that, I remember I was in a pretty kind of dismal spot mentally, kind of just really pissed off at a lot of things that I'm really calling out, as far as, I guess, just the way people are when it comes to religion, because I'm very not tolerant of people who are not tolerant. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like if intolerant people, I don't really have time for that.
Right.
In other words,
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Because I just don't understand it.
So that was just more or less from the inside. You're like, I'm gonna push a little bit more into this, and because I mean, as far as the vocal tone too, it's a little bit more of a growl than initially, kind of like the scream that you had for the first couple of records.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Every album is different, and it's kind of like, that's just kind of how I felt at the time, and so just
puts a time stamp to it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever's natural, whatever kind of comes.
Yeah. Okay. How'd the old Lemmy get involved with this bad boy? How the fuck did that happen?
Oh yeah. So funny story. The Cameron Webb, who recorded that album, he's recorded all kinds of cool shit. And we were like, he had a bunch of Motorhead merch around the studio, and we're like, holy shit. And we found out, he recorded the last 2 or 3 Motorhead albums, and we're like, dude, seriously? We're like, and we're kind of joking around, like, what's it gonna take to get that guy get him on our album? And he's like, you want that old man on your record? And we're like, yeah, we do. And he's like, oh well, he owes me a favor. Hang on. He hits him up, and long story short, we end up booking the studio because he was like down. He's like, yeah, sure. Like it wasn't a big deal to him. He's like, yeah, sure, that sounds cool. I'll do it for you, Cameron. Let's do it. And we kind of rolled up, and he was in there waiting because it had to be in Hollywood because he didn't want to. He didn't want to travel that far, which was fine. We're like, okay, cool. So we went to Hollywood and did it, and then he was there, smoking a cigarette. I think I gifted him a bottle of Jack Daniels and some Skittles.
Nice.
I mean Skittles, you know.
Yeah.
And then I showed him the lyrics and he was reading them and he's like smoking a cigarette in the studio and he's like, he's like, I don't like this word. And I was like, yeah, that's fucking stupid. I'm gonna change that right away. Yeah, we can't have that.
Yeah. Somebody get an eraser.
I'm so stupid. I don't know why I put that. Anyways, let me fix that real quick. So I'm freaking out and I changed it and he's like, oh yeah, okay, that's good. And then he went and did his part and he was all psyched on it and not as psyched as us. And then, yeah, that's it. But I'll never forget that. It was kind of crazy and random and strange that that he was even a part of it. But
yeah, absolutely.
Forever grateful, and I'll never forget that. So
right. You know, and it's one of those things now too, you know, where it's like with him being gone, you know, and having that opportunity. I mean, that's that's huge, you know, being able to have him incorporated in your guys' catalog and, you know, music that you wrote and did, you know, that's awesome, you know. And
yeah, Motorhead's the shit.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I wanted to last hit on, you know, before we dig a little bit, you know, deeper into Monolith here, I wanted to mention as far as with See How You Are. What was different with this process as far as, you know, writing and recording of this album that maybe, you know, was different from the previous albums with that one?
I'm not sure. It's kind of the same approach as always. But just over time, you know, you kind of get better at your instruments. You kind of hone in on what you're good at. And I think that's kind of what we did. And I remember we came back after kind of a little bit of a hiatus and we came back and did it.
Right.
And we wanted to make it exactly how we wanted to. I don't think we had any time limits, which was another big part. Because in the past, the last two albums before that, it was like, okay, you have this long to complete it. And it was like 1 month. So you're kind of pressed and you're like, all right, this has to be done on this day. We didn't have that. We didn't have a timestamp on this one. Okay. So we had a little bit more time to kind of maneuver and be free and do what we wanted and experiment with stuff and ultimately just be happy with what we're doing. Yeah,
for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Where were you at, you know, like in inspirational wise, you know, as far as like the direction that you wanted with like your lyrics and story with that one? Was that something too that you wanted to keep a you know, continual theme, or was that just kind of you were throwing at it what you had in mind?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there was much of a theme on that one. It was just kind of more on the idea that, you know, we spend so much of our life kind of seeing everything looking out a window, you know what I mean? This album's more about kind of looking within for the answers. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
And kind of I don't know. I think it's important to kind of remember that sometimes.
Yeah.
More or less, that's what it's about.
Okay, got you. Now, with and this kind of goes into, you know, Monomyth as far as initially with the documentary that you guys had done, you know, just kind of documenting as far as, you know, all the hands that were involved with this bad boy, the process of writing, recording. Where did the idea come from, you know, doing the documenting it film wise?
Oh, that came to the table. That was Joe. That was basically everybody except for me. And I mean, and I was totally on board. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And the reason why is because I live so far away, so I didn't get there till late.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I live in the Northwest, so I'm kind of far away from everybody, and so I was there for like the last 2 weeks of recording. I basically came down to do vocals and hang out for a couple weeks, and they already had kind of everything already planned out. And I mean, they're my friends. I trust them, and I'm like down with what they're down with. I'm down with. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's really as simple as that. There's no room for ego in this band. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you know as far as like what were some of the first songs that were written for, you know, this specific album that kind of, you know, outlaid the foundation for the sound that you were going for with this one?
Oh, I think Roger and Joe and Charlie came with about 3 demo songs. We're like, okay, we just kept kind of building off it and working on it. And you know, we had a lot of time as much time as we wanted to do exactly what we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, these guys are so good at what they do. It all just kind of happened that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
ends up getting to be more time to hang out, you know, as opposed to worrying about the technical aspect about it.
Yeah. I mean, this album was important to make it kind of perfect, because it was kind of or as perfect as we can make it, considering it's going to be the last album we ever kind of did collectively like that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of putting and knowing that we were going to kind of put a close to it.
Okay.
And the main reason is because we all have other passions outside the band. I mean, that kind of are taking priorities over us just doing the band as we once did, as we once were able to do. Now we're not able to do it. And some of the guys in the band have multiple bands that they're a part of. Mm-hmm. You know, like Roger alone is in like 5, 6 different bands. Joe's in like 3 bands. You know, Charlie's in a couple bands. Charlie's actually in a mariachi band, and it's badass.
What?
It's fucking badass. Yes, he is in he plays drums in a mariachi band in Oxnard. Yeah, dude.
Holy shit! Wow. I mean, they're like traveling, like play shows and everything.
No, it's like a local band. It's like it's like, you know how people like go clubbing.
Yeah.
I mean, like in Oxnard, people go clubbing like Mexican style, like mariachi in Oxnard.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah. I'm talking cowboy hats, cowboy boots, full get up, and he's in there jamming, and he makes good money on the weekends doing it. So,
damn, that is sick. That is sick.
It's incredible.
As far as plans for right now, is Monomyth, is that supposed to be collectively like the final album from the band? At least, is, you know, like a chapter right now. Is that the plan for it? Yeah,
that's the plan. As far as shows go, I'm sure like if something comes up, if there's like a reason to play or something that's going down, like it's like, and it all works out, like, yeah, we're going to play shows. You know what I mean? Okay. It's not like we're like hanging up the boots for good. It's just kind of like, this is the last album we're going to do.
Yeah. Okay. Are there other things collectively, like musically, that you're involved in as well, you know, past this, or is this something that you've kind of, you know, kept with and you just stick with that?
At the moment, no, I'm not involved with any other bands. I did sing in a local band here for a while called Headhunter, but other than that, nothing's going on right now. I kind of just keep it low key and focus on my family and you know, raising my boys. So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Well, I have to give a shout to my dude Andy over at Ill Communication. You put a feature on that bad boy. Holy shit! How'd that come about? I mean, other than you being boys, so I guess that's probably not a huge story behind it. But as far as like you having a feature on that.
That's my dog, Andy. We've been friends forever, so.
Nice.
You know, if he wants me to fucking ruin his record, that's fine.
Oh my lord! Yeah, that's one sales pitch, you know. As far as, hey man, you want to come do it? I mean, if you want me to ruin the record, I guess I'll come hang out.
Yeah, let me.
Oh my god, that is funny. Shit. Well, I mean that's awesome, and that's really cool. I mean, as far as all the behind the scenes stuff too, you know, like I said. I mean, War is Hell was the first album that I heard from you guys, and I'd followed, you know, all the way on through. So it's cool to hear that you guys are still going to be doing some shows and, you know, probably not touring necessarily. But, you know, one thing I heard in one of your interviews that you'd mentioned as far as, you know, that happiness doesn't lie in money and it doesn't lie in, you know, in wealth. You know, wealth comes from, you know, being – I'm trying to think of what exactly you had said, but it kind of brought a point when I was younger where – I was talking with like an ex-girlfriend about, you know, being in like a band, and, you know, I was like, man, you know, I'm going to get big someday, and, you know, you got to travel and you got to, you know, have a tour bus and all this. And she's like, punk rock's not about that at all. Like, it's about the spirit and the energy and about, you know, like the presence of being with friends and good people. That's where your wealth comes. And I remember hearing you, you know, saying something about that. And what is, you know, what is a little, you know, a little that you could touch on with that, just as far as, you know, maybe how social media has kind of driven, the idea of people's happiness nowadays as opposed to what it should be.
Well, I don't think, I guess ultimately, I don't think happiness is like a destination. And I think that's the way people kind of think about it. It's a feeling, just
Mm-hmm.
like it's just as much of a feeling as it is to kind of hurt, to kind of, whatever. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a feeling that comes and goes. It's not real. You know what I mean? So it's if your idea of happiness is to some long-term goal, like, oh, once I get to this point, once I have this amount of money and I do these things, then I'll
Mm-hmm.
be happy. And that's all
Right.
bullshit. Because you're living in the moment, in the present. And that's why live music is so important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why going to a show, like a band like Bane, holy shit. I
Oh
can't tell you how
yeah.
many times I've seen Bane live, and it's like it's never gotten old because you get it's a
Yeah.
certain energy and a feeling that is created, and it's like they're really good at it, like bringing that energy. And when you're there, you can't just falsely make that. It's something that
Mm-hmm.
is collectively driven from that when that first primal chord is struck until the end of their set, and everybody just
Right.
feeds off it. And it's that energy that kind of makes hardcore live, you know what I mean? And so that's why it's important. I
Mm-hmm.
think people are kind of missing that big time. I know I am. Just going to shows in general.
Yeah.
Hopefully this COVID shit fucking kicks rocks pretty soon here. Everybody gets a vaccine or whatever, just to get some kind of live music back, because
Mm-hmm.
that's where it's at. I mean, and it sucks. I have so many friends that are in bands. It's like, what do you do? That's their livelihood. It sucks.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just wanted to touch on that just because I thought that was a really important thing, with like these interviews and people watching, especially with like some of the younger cats nowadays getting wrapped up in like their idea of what, happiness or fulfillment, should be. And I remember, hearing you touching on something, I was like, oh shit. I mean, that's a really good thing for people to hear, just as far as like, even with live music, just like go out and enjoy the energy of it and the environment and, your friends being around and being alive, shit, not all
Yeah.
this other bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. All right. Well, look, this is wrapping up as far as all of the musical content. I wanted to dig into a couple of horror movies here. You had mentioned a couple of movies here. First off, I wanted to ask about Hereditary. You'd mentioned that bad boy.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
how did you get introduced to that? First off.
Oh, my friend Morgan McStotts. He's a big horror film guy. Oh man.
Okay.
In fact, he'd probably be good on your show to talk about. He's got a collection of VHS tapes that you wouldn't believe.
Oh
But
shit. Okay.
yeah, he's been my friend. He's like a day one. He showed me. He told me about Hereditary, and I was like, man, okay. So I watched it, and it just kind of. That's the first time I've like been like really scared during a movie. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, oh shit. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what it was, but I was like, this is fucking creepy. I think, and it has to do with, because I did some research on that movie. Obviously, like I'm sure you did. I'm like, okay, so this is a real like demon per se from like
Yeah.
whether it's folklore or not. It's like this is a real demon that they focused on rather than the devil, and I thought that was cool
Mm-hmm.
to not be like, oh, it's Satan.
Right.
This is a demon. He has a name, and this is what he does. And it's like, holy shit. And once you realize that, you're like, this is a fucking crazy. There's just like a whole cult about it, and there's just some of the imagery where you're like, okay, that's disturbing. Like just all the naked people. Like there's this one scene, and I had to pause it because it showed the outside of the house. You know when they're wrapping up the movie in the last like 30, 40 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
And it shows the outside of the house before they go in. And you're like, okay, shit's about to go down. I paused it and I was like, what the fuck? There's all these people
outside.
surrounding the house, and they're all butt
Yeah.
naked, and you're like, okay. And then when the dude's like running away and stuff outside, you see just randomly in the background more people just eerily kind of standing there, and you're like, what the fuck?
What's going
He
on?
gets up in the attic, and then there's like a couple people that come out smiling, butt naked, and you're like, what the fuck? Then the chick saws her head off with a piano wire. You're like, what the fuck? And it just keeps going, and you're like, this is the craziest ending ever. Like, when's it gonna stop? It's like 30 minutes of just mental torment. It's crazy.
Doesn't let up.
Crazy movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. What did you think about it?
It was one of those movies where it was some time after it had come out. I mean, I've been collecting since I've been in middle school, basically DVDs and VHSs and different things, and so I've always loved horror, and I heard so much about it. I think it was one of those things where like you see, maybe like an ad online where it's like top 10 scariest horror movies of all time, and like that movie was always on it. So I'm like, I'm not giving this a chance. It's going to be bullshit. And I ended up getting it for, as a gift, and I watched it, and it was just like buried in my brain for fucking days. Like, and then the thing is with it too is kind of like you're mentioning where, you pause something and you look and there's all this stuff going on in the background that, the time before that you watched it, you're like, I had no idea that was even going on. What the fuck's going on there? Or like the logo that, pops up all throughout the movie and shit, like some of the fine details. That director definitely hits that shit on the head.
Right on the money. Yeah, exactly. And it and then so watching it twice, I think that helps a lot too, because you, from the very beginning, you watch it and you're like, okay, why are these dudes like creepily smiling at this grandma's funeral?
Yeah.
At these kids, and they don't know why, but they're just like, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever. Mm-hmm. Because and then towards the end of the movie, you're like, okay, because her body is actually gonna turn into his body, whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, and that's
this shit's about to get crazy.
Yeah.
Another one you mentioned was Midsummer. Did you watch that in theater? Was that something?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that just based off of like knowing it was the director that made Hereditary? You were already a fan then?
Yeah, and the previews looked gnarly, so I went and watched that at a theater with a friend, and he didn't know what he was walking into, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Because they do that weird Viking suicide ritual where they jump off a fucking rock, and
crazy.
I guess that's like an old Viking thing. Like
yeah. I mean, I don't know what all necessarily, even with that or like Hereditary, I think there's, little things that were kind of, sprinkled in that were just like personal details. But I think that's kind of the cool thing is that he took things from, either like, I want to say Sweden, but I don't think it's Sweden. I'm trying to think of what country that's supposed to take place in, just as far as like.
I think it was Sweden.
Was it Sweden? Okay.
Yeah,
like
I think it was.
The attire and just the community, the meals, the different things. I mean, there was so much detail in that fucking movie. It was overwhelming, honestly.
Yeah, and it's like, man, I wonder if because it's like they carried a tradition from like ancient pagan times, and it's like, whoa. So if you kind of do the research, that's like kind of the shit that people would do back then. Mm-hmm. And the most important part about it, which kind of the whole scheme of it might get lost if you don't realize that what they're drinking is like psilocybin mushroom tea.
Yeah.
And they're all fucked up. You know what I mean? And that's an important thing with like ancient Greece and stuff like that. I mean, they used to call it the koukion, and it was actually a kind of a drink, so to say. In fact, some people argue that that's what Christ was drinking during the the first communion or whatever.
Oh,
was a psychedelic brew like that. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Which would explain a lot of the fucking shit you would read in the Bible, because I think a lot of it's I think a lot of the stuff written in the Bible was written by people fucking high as a Georgia pine. just fucked up on drugs. Anyways, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it seems like to me.
That is funny. Holy shit. Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, as far as that movie, I think initially too with that movie, what one thing was like after watching Hereditary, I went and saw Midsummer in theater. It was like the first day that it came out, and it was like another one of those things where it stuck with me for so long, but I didn't like it as much, and I watched it a couple other times, man, and I that movie has grown on me so much. I absolutely love that movie. There's like so much, again, in the detail, too, with that one. So, and apparently that's supposed to be his last horror movie, which is really a bummer.
No.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he's come out and said. I don't know if there's any truth behind that. There's a lot of shit can change, but especially for somebody that can be as effective and do the shit, another one is Jordan Peele, some of his recent stuff. I don't know if you've seen like Get Out or Us.
I know about those movies and I haven't watched them yet.
Ooh, Get Out is a really good one. That's not going to be a
Yeah.
recommendation I'm putting out, but Get Out is actually a really, really good movie that kind of has
Okay.
along the same lines as far as, some of the small details, some of the things that you might look over and then rewind back and you're like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, that one, I need to get on that for sure.
Yeah.
So,
But I want to talk about Midsommar just a little bit more.
sure.
I think it's important too because I don't know about you, but in that movie, I was kind of like on their side, like the cult side. You know what I mean? Because I'm like these
Yeah.
people, I'm like these motherfuckers are trying to come in and take like their secrets and like kind of blasphemize and like
Yeah.
kind of sell out what they're doing for like projects for school, like writing about them and stuff. That dude's trying to take actual material and take pictures of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like they get fucked up.
Yeah, yeah, and
You know
then
what I
I mean,
mean?
you find out. I think I had on the captions at one point, and I find out that when he gets hit over the head with whatever that is, it's the one cat that was yelling at the younger dude for pissing on the tree, and he
Oh
like
yeah,
had that kid's face on him, and he's sitting there,
yeah,
like he had like or somebody skinned him and has his face on. I was like, holy shit, and
yeah, dude.
I recently through the distributor company they released a director's cut of it, which was like an extra like 20 minutes that kind of like digs into it a little bit more.
Oh
It's
really?
yeah,
Huh.
it's a fucking well. Hold on a second.
I wonder if it's on Amazon. I watched it on Amazon,
Yeah,
I think.
I had the original one of it, and they just released like just this one copy. It's the detail of it. This is a movie. This is fucking crazy. So this is like all textured, like it'd be like an
Huh.
old school like book.
Yeah,
You open up this bad boy, and it's got like all this like different artwork and shit.
that's fucking sick. Yeah,
Crazy. There's probably shit I
yeah,
not even there's naked shit all over the place, and
yeah.
but they did a director's cut, and it kind of digs into it's not like anything anymore like extreme per
Huh.
se, but there's one whole scene where it's like in the dark and they go by this pond and they're going to sacrifice this kid and like drown this kid in the river and they stop it, and there's some wild shit. A lot of the different things that kind of builds up the tension between Danny and then her boyfriend, as far as like just more shitty things that he does, to where it's like by the end of the movie, you're really rooting for something terrible to happen to this dude. And then, I mean, spoiler, he gets burned up inside of a fucking bear, which is like, I don't
Yeah, and
know
he can't
how they came
move.
up with that.
And he's like
Yeah, that's,
paralyzed, and he's just watching it. He's like,
yeah.
little help, please.
I,
You know,
I, I couldn't imagine. I mean, there's a lot of things, visually, aesthetically, that were terrifying about that movie too. Yeah, Ari Aster kills it. I hope he does some more horror shit, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it sounds like he's not going to, but it'd be cool if he did. Because he kills it.
yeah, for
So
sure.
you had mentioned those couple of movies, and then I had said that I had a couple of recommendations for you that I wanted based
Hmm.
off of things that
Yeah.
might actually kind of happen or could actually happen. So here's a couple that I came up with for you. And first of all, we have it's a movie. It's on Amazon Prime. If you have that, it's called I See You. You ever hear of this one?
No.
All right. So well,
Nuh-uh.
let's see here. This no, that's not the cover. Never mind. It's got Helen Hunt in it. You know who she is?
Yeah.
She's like been an
I
actress
think.
for like a Twister and all sorts of shit.
Right. Yeah.
So basically, it takes place in this small town in Ohio. These kids are going up missing. Something happens in the beginning of the movie where you start thinking that it's like this like supernatural kind of silly something goofy going on, and then about halfway through the movie you realize actually what's going on, and it's fucking terrifying. Like it's one of those things kind of along the lines where like my wife and I talked about it for weeks after, as far as like when you watch it you're like it's something that can actually happen. So you're like looking around your house and rechecking shit. It paranoid the fuck out of us for sure. That's a really good one.
Oh, I'll
If
watch that for sure,
you got Prime, I See You. That's a good one.
dude.
It's a cover again.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right. So next, this is an old 70s, but real grimy, a movie called Maniac. You ever hear of this bad boy?
Nuh-uh.
All right. So this is it was just recently remade with Elijah Wood. I don't know if you know who that cat is or not.
Oh yeah.
But I mean the original is really good. It's on Amazon Prime again, but this one it's centered around this dirty, scuzzy, nasty old white dude who's just gross, overweight, and he's a serial killer. He collects scalps, he collects things in his apartment, and it just, the way that it's shot and everything, the griminess of it, you would see something like that being in real life, and this dude very much fulfilling this person being a real life, murderer.
Yeah.
So some of the gore effects are gross, but kind of ahead of their time. Really cool movie as well.
Nice.
And then last but not least, this was I think earlier 2000s movie. It was on Amazon Prime as well. It's a movie called The House of the Devil. If you ever hear of this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that one down too.
So this one here, basically you have a young girl. She's real desperate for cash. She ends up she answers a call for a babysitting job. And then what lies as far as in the house, is kind of like a little bit of a cultish thing. You'd mentioned with like Hereditary and even in Midsommar, the cult angle. There's some of that in this movie, and some pretty frightening shit that could actually happen in that as well. So that's another one here. If you get a chance, dude, you got House of the Devil, Maniac, which that one's pretty grim. I don't know if your wife watches movies with you. I don't know if I'd watch that one with her.
Fuck.
Yeah. And then I See You, which that's actually a really good one, but it's probably gonna paranoid the shit out of you for a little bit. If anything
that's
like
fine.
me,
that takes a lot, but yeah.
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
Those are my recommendations, though, my dude. That's what I got for you. So hopefully, if you check those out, let me know what you think, and hopefully, hopefully you dig them.
Yeah, there's this new show I'm watching called it's called A Midwife's Tale. You ever heard of that?
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's not horror related, but maybe it is, but it's fucking. It's scary, and it's scary because it's something that I could see like it's real life shit. It's not like anything spooky. It's about like the fucking just the USA getting taken over by like a new order, and like they take all the fertile women and they make them it's fucking weird, dude. And it's like, oh, it's almost too much to watch.
Oh. Wow.
They rape these women, but they do it in a way that they try to pertain to the Bible, and they in the book of Jacob, and they say like it's a cult. It's this weird cult that kind of overthrew the government, which is crazy by itself. Right. And they bring in the book of Jacob, and their whole outfit is based on this book, and they're like, oh well, Jacob he wasn't. Or what was it? His wife wasn't fertile, so he says it was the Lord's will that he could get these other women pregnant. But his wife had to be present. It was weird. So these women are laying on the laps of the dude's wife, and then he fucks them to try to get them to have babies against their will. Oh. So it's rape. But they say it's not rape because it's the Lord's will that it's insane. It's insane, and that's just part of it. Anyways, I don't know if I do or do not recommend watching this, but it's called Midwife's Tale, and it's fucked up.
Damn, what is that on?
And now I'm sucked in, and I got to keep watching it, which is fucking awful. So.
Right. What is it? It's streaming on something? I take it.
It's on Hulu.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have that, so I'm gonna have to check it out. I know I have heard the name, and I think now that you've dug into a little bit of the description, I think I've heard some of it before. But I haven't watched it. I've heard a lot of it, but yeah, it's gonna be
it's insane, and it's like I don't know if it's like horror movie material. I don't think it doesn't. To me, it's not like horror movie, but it's like scary. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Weird.
Nice.
It's weird.
Have there, other than Hereditary and Midsommar, have there been other horror movies recently that you've watched that have, that have caught your eye?
A couple of them, and you're wearing the shirt of it, the Witch. Dude, yeah. Okay, so that movie I liked a lot, and the payoff is huge at the end.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
And you're like, okay, that makes sense. And you think about it, you're like, okay, so this fucking goat has been watching the whole time.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, oh, wow. And that's a pretty psycho movie too.
Yeah.
But at the end, you're like, okay, well, it turned out for the best because now she's a witch and she's not pinned down by her parents who are crazy. So.
Have you seen his other movie, The Lighthouse?
I did watch it. Also,
like it?
pretty cool, pretty artistic.
Yeah, right.
Not my thing, but I get it.
Yeah.
I get like the art value of it. Did I enjoy it? Sure. Did I think it was the best? Probably not.
Right.
But I thought it was cool for what it was. It's all black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it being pretty long. Still cool ass movie.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Cool ass movie. Not my thing, but
right.
Man.
Yeah, I dug it, and I see what you're saying as far as with that too. There were certain moments where it felt like it drug a little bit long. You know, there's kind of a dynamic between the two guys, but then there's other scenes where it just, you know, drug a little bit. But he's got some new movie coming out too that it's like supposed to be taking place with Vikings and all this. It's supposed to be ultra gory. So I don't know what that's gonna be about, but you know, I'm gonna check that one out for sure. He seems to do a pretty decent job.
There's one other movie I watched recently called Gretel and Hansel. Have you seen that?
Oh, yes. Holy shit. That movie.
Dude, yeah.
Surprising.
I just saw it last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I dug it. I thought the witch was really fucking cool on it. And once again, it kind of reminds me of that ancient time in Greece when all the women were later in life, they would call them witches. But back then they were just healers. And they would have certain potions and mixtures they would make to heal you.
Oh shit!
Or kill you and
kill.
And you know what I mean? And so so they were the kind of the keepers of kind of all these herbs and stuff that grow naturally around us, and they were in charge of dealing with all that back in those days. You know, before the common era, that type of thing. And then it wasn't until like, you know, the reign of Christ where they all kind of got, you know, killed and burned and shit. Like, oh, you guys are witches. We can't have that. Mm-mm. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, men were in charge. Yeah. But back then, it was like women kind of. You know what I mean?
Damn. Okay.
If you think about it, women are fucking powerful. I mean, they're responsible for all the people. Yeah. You know? So it's kind of
everybody
think about
walking.
That. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but. Yeah,
write a script, man. You know what I'm saying? Bring some shit to the screen. You know what I'm saying? You got some good ideas, some good ideologies behind some of that stuff.
Oh, I'm a fucking weirdo.
Throw it up.
Oh, I could.
There you go, man. There's especially, you know, near California and shit, man. There's plenty of people out there looking for some cool, you know, new stuff. And that's one thing I think. One last thing I want to mention too, with like Ari Aster and cats like that, is like the fact of doing original stuff. You know, I mean, I feel like the 2000s were kind of riddled with so many remakes and so many things that were reboots and different, you know, original content. Just the fact of that'll already win me some points. You know, somebody coming out with something that has some imagination. You know, even if it's something, you know, based off of like a folk tale, but you know, just something original bringing to the screen. That'll always, you know, win me over.
Yeah, I will say my kids are pretty excited to see the new King Kong movie.
I am as well.
King Kong and Godzilla. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah. Adam Wingard is a horror director. He made a movie called You're Next. He directed that one.
Oh yeah, that's what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You're Next and I See You. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't direct I See You.
Oh.
No, he didn't direct any of the ones that I had mentioned. I was just saying as far as that he had directed Godzilla vs. King Kong. And then he was like, he derived from horror movies, so it's kind of cool to see, you know, he's on this huge, you know, like scale doing that movie now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right, man. Look, I have taken, you know, just about your hour. I don't want to keep you all night, even though I could. You know, I love talking movies, and it's really cool to hear, you know, your insight on this stuff. Honestly, I appreciate your time. I apologize about the little mix up on the time there.
Hey,
But
that was my fault completely. I looked back on the messages and I was like, oh shit, I did say 1 o'clock. I'm such a dummy, you know. So that's my
not
fault.
not a problem.
I apologize. Yeah.
Honestly, I appreciate this. This is really, really cool. And I thank you, man. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for having me. That was awesome.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, hopefully I can get you on, another time. Maybe you're writing some movies or some music's coming up, some shows, some shit like that,
Yeah.
I try and get you back on, my man. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right, everybody, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy, my dude, Marshall Lichtenwalt. You guys take care, stay safe, and have a good one. Take care, man.
See ya.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.